Great defeaters, new and old, welcome back to another, what might be a very controversial episode of The Breakdown. With your host, BaseDaKID, Tony, the Pugilist Boy, and we are the children of the game. Tony, how are you? How was your weekend? Are you happy? All that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, Base. Still suffering a little bit with my tooth, but other than that, it's been a fairly easy weekend. Dosing up and looking after myself, getting spoilt rotten, I guess. So yeah, I'm very happy.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
How
Right.
about you, bro? Because
Um, yeah, happier, I'd say. I won't go into any further details on that, but I'm here in it. I'm here. I'm no longer ill, so I'm probably not going to be coughing down the place all day. And knowing you, you'd make me have to do the show by myself, suffering. So it's a good thing I'm not ill. We are good though. We are good, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Apologies for being a few minutes late. I will take the blame on that, but there is a good reason for it, and that reason is because I was watching the final parts of the Kenshiro Taraji versus Carlos Canales fight from earlier on today. Usually we would leave that until next week, but because there's two big shows coming on this weekend anyway, I'm deciding, I'm making the executive call to add it to today. And to be totally honest, the fight was great. I want to talk about it now. I don't want to wait a week. I've just finished watching it. Now I know Tony hasn't, but he's been off doing school stuff and other, more important stuff. So I'm gonna take the lead on this one, and then he will give us his initial thoughts on it next week, and there won't be any real discussions about it. We'll just talk and move on. Before that,
okay,
and well, you about to say
sorry.
something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it possible? Very quickly, just to make a quick shout out. Big up props to man like BaseDaKID in the house. I want to give my partner over on that side, get my finger wagging the right way, because we got on our show on Saturday night. We had the Jamal Herring interview, and if you guys haven't had an opportunity to see that, go over onto the YouTube channel, find it in the history, and go. It was a wonderful discussion. I give much props to Jamal. So eye-opening and illuminating, and it was a pleasure to be a part of that. So thank you very much to Base for organizing that. And yeah, guys, go check that out if you haven't already done so.
Yeah, if you guys weren't here, obviously he was supposed to come on Tuesday, had some issues that week was unavoidable. So yeah, we did reschedule it. Even that ended up being a bit late, but luckily it all got done all before the main event. And yeah, Jamel's a great guy, and he will definitely be back on the channel in the future. We're sorting that out, and we're now campaigning for him to get his UK return. That's what he wants. He wants to come and fight in the UK. He loves the UK crowds, loves the atmosphere. He wants all the smoke at 130 in the UK. So we will be talking. Well, I will be talking to Eddie and Frank about that when I see them next week, and hopefully we can get something cracking with regards to that. Now, before we just start the show, as always, we have to show manners and respect to the chat. So first up was Mr. Jonah 31. Very big member of the channel. Thank you very much for being here. Tyler MF Durden, big ups to you. Number 2 in the building. BaseDaKID, haven't seen you about in a while, but it's nice to see you today. Untraceable, Philip Answer, man like Clyde Gordon, Dan the man, the hardest working guy on X, Mr. SC15 himself. Big ups to you. Gavin Leckie, haven't seen your face before, haven't seen your name. You look like you're new. Thank you very much for being here, and I hope you
Gavin
do
is
return.
a father of one of my boxers, so I'm pretty certain that could be one of my boxers using his dad's YouTube. So big up to all the Croy Gas boxers. Thanks for joining us.
I mean, you could have just let me finish and then you tell me that, but okay, cool, no worries. G Chain, big ups to you, bless up. Bigsy Biggs, Skyliner, the editor. I think I said untraceable, but I'm gonna say you again. Thank you very much. Jam Down 187, always big up. Daniel J. Boateng as well. Okay, right. And to answer your question, Philip, answer yes, you are right. We're not going to touch on those misfits. But what I will say is I did scan part of the card, I think maybe yesterday or whatever. And shout out to El Brook in it, because that knockout was crazy. That was a nice right hand from Miss OnlyFans herself. So yeah, shout out to her. Right. Okay, so moving into what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to talk about the card from earlier on today. I only seen the Tenshin Nasukawa fight, so I haven't seen the Artem Dalakian fight yet because I was rushing about. But I just finished watching all of Taraji versus Canales. So I'm going to speak about that one very quickly. First things first, amazing fight. If you've got access to ESPN Plus or a VPN or anything like that, you need to find this fight. The fact that it wasn't available over here feels a bit like a travesty after what I just witnessed. Yes, I can't speak about it high enough. I don't normally talk about potential fight of the year contenders in January. I've never done it, but this one to me is going to take some beating. And that's coming from me. I'm not easily satisfied, but this fight had everything. It had back and forth. It had knockdowns on both sides. It had power punches. It had tactical battles. It had sweeping left hook. It had people getting pushed up against the ropes and having to ride out storms. Potential low blows, it had a bit of everything in there. It was a genuine delight to watch. I can't rave about it enough. But what I want to do, I want to talk about a slight I'm going to talk about a slight controversy here. I mean, there's been so much talk about potential, Natasha Jonas and Michaela Mayer. I'm not going to lie, I picked Kenshiro Taraji to win this fight, but as I was scoring the fight, I actually don't think he did. He got the decision. He got it as a majority decision. Two cards was 114, 112, and the other card was 113, 113. So that's basically 7-5 two cards and then 6-6 on the other, but that includes a knockdown on each side as well. Now, the first thing I want to just state about Kenshiro Taraji, and it's actually funny because when I see him jab, right, and it's weird, this always used to throw me off, and maybe that's the reason why his opponents normally seem to get always offset by his jab. If you look at the way that he throws his jab, if anyone's ever seen the sport fencing, the actual way you fence with the sword, and you have one hand raised up and then you jab out with the other hand, he literally jabs in the exact same way as they fence. If you get a chance, look at a fencing competition and then look at the way he jabs. His right hand will always be up here, back here, and his jab just comes straight out in that fencing motion. It's very off-putting and offsetting to look at from me from outside the ring. So I can imagine almost the up jab to someone in the ring will look very, it will come at them at an angle they're not expecting. And it was, but it was very, the way I look at it, I say to myself, he was using it to try and measure and control and offset the pace of the fight. But I'm going to tell you how I saw the rounds playing out. So he was fencing with that jab in the first round, but I felt that he was just getting outlanded with the much bigger clubbing, heavier shots by Canales. So I gave the first round to Canales. Second round, Taraji came back in, and in this one, he started moving. He actually started sort of trying to pressure Canales. He was trying to stay in the pocket, and he was fencing. He was also throwing the straight backhand as well. At that one, and at that point, he managed to he caught a little bit of a left hook from Canales as he was pulling out, but he swung his own right over the top, and it clipped Canales on the top of the head, wobbled him, took away his legs to the point where he then he lunged at Taraji and literally took him down like a rugby tackle, and then even wouldn't let go of his leg on the floor, trying to get himself some extra time. It was quite a sight, but the ref obviously caught it, made sure he's tuned it in and said, okay, no, that's a knockdown. So that took it back to 1 round apiece for me, with Taraji being a point up after the knockdown. Round 3, He starts off again like aggressive, moving forward, pressuring Canizales. But in that moment, he gets caught with a couple of big shots, gets pushed back to the ropes, and gets caught with a really swift. It was like a right hook. It was a left hook, sorry, but it was a left hook, then a right hook, but it buckled him as a flash knockdown. He dropped like he almost did a slut drop. The way he dropped and his hand touched the floor, but he got back up straight away and then was trying to ride the rest of the shots. But the ref jumped in and obviously gave him the standing 8 count. So that put it back in Canizales' favor. Round 10. This was the very safe to me Taraji round. He got this one back, as like they say, he went and got his get back in this round, just walking Canizales down, just punching through the guard, just walking him on the jab, timing him with the straight right hand as well. Canizales is now at this point is not moving forward anymore. He's actually trying to counter punch and trying to circle the periphery of the ring. So that round to me was a Taraji round. Round 5. Now, Tony, mute your mic for me.
Sorry, I'm watching the fight as you're saying it, so I'm kind of seeing what you're saying live and going, woo!
I know, but I'm gonna need you to mute the mic. I'm in full flow, though. I'm in full flow. Right, so round 5 now. We've got this round. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of I chickened out a bit. It was Taraji had the first half of the fight of this round, then Canizales had the sort of the second half, then Taji came back a bit, then Canizales came back a bit. I didn't know how to separate this one. I was trying to think who really done the better of the work, but I had to score it a 10-10. To me, round 5 was a draw round. I just had to give it a draw. I said, all right, you know what? I don't normally do 10-10 rounds, but that one to me was a 10-10. Round 6, then you got Taraji. Comfortable. This is a comfortable round. At this point, Canizales looks like he's tired. He's gasping for air. He's like running around the ring. Basically, is trying to stay away. You got Taraji he's just on him. Like right hands, left hands. He's pounding to the body. There's some good body work, digging in some really nice shots. Canizales don't like these, but then right at the end, the last 30 to 40 seconds, he tries to come back and he manages to trap Taraji on the ropes right at the end of the round, gets a couple of shots in, but they're just not enough to take the round. He thought he was slick, tried to steal it, didn't work. Taraji round. Round 7, done the exact same thing, the same blueprint, but this time Taraji's still digging in with those body shots. They are nasty. Canizales does not like them at all. He's still running. He's getting popped with the straight right hand. Boom! It's like he's taking them. He's managing to weather the storm. He's still being competitive, but it looks like this point like the writing's on the wall. Like he's about to go. But again, last 30-40 seconds, now he's got his wind. He's throwing those big hooks. He's jabbing with Taraji. He's now pushing him back, getting him towards the ropes. He's trying to get a little bit dirty, a little bit rough. Taraji slipping some shots, but it doesn't matter because he will not be denied at this point, even to the point where the bell's going and he's still trying to swing blows, and the ref's jumping in a bit too late because he doesn't want to taste that leather either. But it was still another Taraji round. That was round 7. Round 8, pattern, the exact same pattern happens yet again. Same thing, so I'm not even going to go through it again. It was another Taraji round. So at this point, I've got it 5-2 and 1 even to Kenshiro Taraji. Now, round 9, this is where it changes for me. So in this round now, Canizales he still looks tired, but in this round now, that even though he's tired, he's trying to exchange more. He's trying to hold his feet a bit more. He's trying to swing those shots in a bit more. And because those shots are so powerful, Taraji is not opening up as much as he was previously. He's still getting some good shots in, but you can just see that Canizales is doing a bit more of the work. He's just a bit more prepped, and it looks like he's got his second wind, and he's just trying, and he's just building up his bit ahead of steam. Taraji looks like he's trying to take a breather, but Canizales takes that round and he manages to take that one back. Round 10, very similar. Basically does the exact same thing. This time he's pressing on the front foot a bit more. Taraji's still landing some decent shots, but he's still not having the desired effect that he was having back in round sort of 6, 7, and 8. Round 11. Now, round 11, Taraji at this point is trying to just control the fight behind the jab. He's backing up. Now he's the one on the back foot instead of being on the front foot. And you've got Canales just basically trying to walk him down and walk him around the ring. He's the one landing the clean shots. Taraji's jabs is not really having much effect. He's not really landing much stuff of note at that moment. Round 12, Taraji tries to stay in the pocket a bit more, tries to stay in the center of the ring, but he's still getting pushed back. Nothing else he can do at this one. He's basically just surviving, thinking he's got it in the bag, which it could be the only reason why he potentially may have hurt his right hand, because he didn't throw it for the last two rounds, or very timidly in the 12th. But again, you just got Canales just backing him up, like landing hooks to the chin, hooks to the side of the head, landing a couple body shots. He's also throwing himself throwing himself off his axis, like the way that he's just throwing all of his weight into these shots off balance. But he's at this point is just showing that he wants it more, and that's how it looks and that's how it appears. So on my scorecard, I had round 1 to Canales, round 2 to Taraji, round 3 to Canales, round 4 to Taraji. Round 5 was a draw round. Round 6 to Taraji, round 7 to Taraji, round 8 to Taraji, round 9 to Canales, round 10 to Canales, round 11 to Canales, and round 12 to Canales. So on my scorecard, I had it 5, 6, and 1 even to Carlos Canales. But yeah, that's not the scorecards that we ended up getting at the end of the night. Tony, go. Give your thoughts on what you're seeing real quick, and then I will come back to this in 1 second.
So I've taken the liberty to very briefly look at the Top Rank highlights on YouTube, which pretty much highlighted some of the stuff that you just mentioned. The knockdown in the second round, is it? And it does look pretty much the way you explained it, in that, there were rounds where Taraji looks like he's in the ascendancy. But what I did notice is that the physical frame of Canales is huge compared to Taraji. I mean, Taraji is a typical Japanese type fighter. He's very slim, sinewy with the muscle. But obviously, that allows him to be very lucid in his style of fighting. Whereas Canales is, your much more hardened body, with, much more protruding muscle. And look at his calves, for instance. He's got huge calves when I look at him standing next to Taraji. And what that means is when he's loading up in his combinations, his power just looks much heavier than the punches that Taraji's throwing. And when he starts loading up from 8, they basically went in quite lengthy on round 9, 10, and 11. And it looks like, this is Canales' fight from those 3 rounds. The majority of the action that I've seen have shown a lot more of Canales putting Taraji under pressure than vice versa. Obviously, the first round knockdown where, he did the tackle, that was an entertaining part of the fight. But yeah, I mean, there's points where I'm looking at Canales going left hook happy. He's throwing a left hook to the body, left hook to the head. It's just one-way traffic, and he's just using one hand. So he's dominating a guy with one hand. And then obviously when he does bring the swarm or the combination work, it looks very hurtful for Taraji, and he doesn't seem to appear to have any kind of idea as how to counter it, how to roll it, how to, tuck in. He does tuck in, but it just seems that he's unable to stop the hard power punches of Canales. But yeah, it looks an interesting fight. I'm definitely going to try and catch the full fight at some point.
Yeah, I had it 113 to 114 to Canales. Again, I predicted that Taraji would win. I thought he would win a fairly, not comfortable UD, but I thought it would be like fairly convincing. I mean, look, I'm not going to say that he didn't win. I would need to watch it again, fine tooth comb. But just from my sort of my view, it was either I could see a draw and I could see it to Canales. I can see maybe there's a couple rounds where Taraji might have been given a bit more grace and sort of got those. Well, I'm not going to say robberies, nothing like that. It was one of those back and forth fights. There are several rounds in there where I gave it to one guy and I could have given it to the other instead. But yeah, it was just that's how I sort of scored it. So I count him very fortunate to be walking away with his title. But that being said, it was an amazing fight. Definitely a fight that I encourage everyone to watch. What I will be doing is I'm gonna after the show, I'm gonna watch it back again. I'm gonna screen record it and I'm gonna put it in the group for anyone who doesn't have access, so you guys can watch it via that means, including both Danny and October in the chat. And then yeah, we you guys can sort of see that. But yeah, great fight. And I want to watch it again, basically. um, Right now, very quickly, just want to talk about Tenshin Nasukawa's fight. So I predicted that he would get his first stoppage in his third pro boxing fight. Obviously, everyone would know him by being a world champion kickboxing. I think he was a world championships. I think maybe they might have had some Olympics as well. I'm not sure exactly what other things he won, but he's basically undefeated kickboxer in his in his entire kickboxing career, undefeated world champion. And anyone who should know that name is he's the very first person that Floyd Mayweather fought when he started doing all of his exhibitions. That was the very first guy. So if that would be the way for you to know the name Tenshin Nasukawa. But yeah, so he's doing his pro game stuff now. The guy is opponent Pacheco Robles retired after the third round. He retired in his stool, citing some kind of ankle injury. So they had to take his boot off, and he ended up getting stretchered out. So he could no longer continue that way. That's not how I predicted the stoppage would happen, but that is how it happened. But yeah, now obviously got that out of the way. Let's talk about the main card from the weekend. Tony, let's rattle through the few fights on the undercard, because realistically none of them are really that of note to talk about. So just go through, give your overall opinions of the three fights that we spoke about, and then we'll get to the main event.
Okay, so I'm going to show very quickly KO of the night. Jack Massey was fighting this guy in Terry and Dutul in Terry. This was a very big knockout for Jack, and congratulations to him. I noticed that on his Twitter, he's got something about he got more rounds. He won more rounds against Joseph Parker than Deontay Wilder, which actually is technically correct. So well done to Jack Massey on the comeback trail. Knockout of the night. Now we move on. Mark Jeffers versus Jermaine Brown. This was for the English title, which was held by Jeffers. And in all honesty, my opinion on this one was that Jermaine Brown was not ready for this particular fight, because technically he was just outboxed by Mark Jeffers for the entire 10 rounds. Jeffers was just too fleet of foot. He had better foot movement. For some reason, Jermaine Brown just wouldn't step in with his punches. He seemed to be throwing punches from a distance and not engaging. So he seemed to be dropping short with all his shots. Jeffers had better head movement. He was able to slip a lot of the shots that Jermaine was throwing. Moved his feet very well, and overall dominated this fight from top to bottom. So very good performance by Jeffers. Good win there. Do you want to say anything on that one?
No, keep going.
Okay. The next fight I'm going to talk about quickly is Karis Artinstall against Lisa Furtado.
Leela.
Now, sorry, yeah. Now, interestingly, I didn't watch this live, but you asked me to give it a watch over. This was an 8-rounder, and in all honesty, this was a very close fight. Now, it had a controversial knockdown in the first round where Furtado was knocked down, but it was after the bell. So she received a standing count, but the knockdown was technically after the bell. Regardless of that, the remainder of the fight was very even. And in fact, I think that it was only judged by the judge. There wasn't like 3 judges. It was the referee, sorry, was the one who judged it. And I think it came out 77, 75 to Artinstall, which is only 2 rounds. And it could quite easily have been a draw. Furtado, to give her credit, was in this fight through much of the fight and actually gave Artinstall hell. Karas at the end of the fight was saying that she didn't follow instructions from her corner. She got involved in a war when she didn't really need to. Well, I actually think that was the reason that was because Furtado forced her into that, as opposed to just standing back and allowing Artinstall to just dominate from the outside. Artinstall, for some reason, boxes much shorter than her actual height. So she kind of crouches over, her back is really arched, and she fights in that posture for the whole fight, which kind of makes it a lot easier for Furtado to reach her, because she's effectively bringing herself down to Furtado's sides and not using her own length. Furtado, the Brazilian, was very aggressive, fighting in spurts with punches in bunches. She obviously learned a thing from her last fight over here, where she fought
Raven Chapman.
Raven Chapman, of course, yeah. And then, yeah, she used their experience, because the only real experience she's got has been that Raven Chapman fight. But she used the experience from that to keep herself in this fight and work hard. She had a very good engine. She was there punching through to the end of the 8th round. And yeah, it was a little bit hard done by to have lost. Obviously, that first round knockdown did have an impact on the overall scorecard. But for me, it was an even fight. I would have given it an even draw based on what I saw. Do you want to say anything on that one?
Yeah, just to sort of follow up what you said, I agree. It was probably a lot of a harder night for Karis than it should have been, based on obviously her Olympic pedigree and what her promise is within in the division. Leela for the Santos Furtado is obviously a very tough lady, but if you've got the aspirations to obviously be at the World Championship, and clearly the whole point of you taking this fight is to try and, because she's trying to chase down a Raven Chapman fight, so it's now, okay, I'm going to fight the same people, I'm going to do better than Raven did. Well, unfortunately, in this case, she didn't, because Raven won the majority of the rounds against Leela in a 10-round fight, and you've more struggled now in an 8. Raven, I think with Raven, I think it was 73. It was 73, 72, because he knocked her down also. I think early one. I think she knocked her down twice in that fight. I remember I was there. So, but and towards the end, and I think she broke Furtado's nose as well. So she was like trying to hang on at the end of it. Whereas obviously you've got Karis, who didn't do as good of a job. She still probably edged it, especially with the gift of the knockdown, which should have been discounted, because it did land after the bell. But yeah, that's, I guess, referee's discretion. It might be a good run for her. She got the win, but because it was a hard night's work, maybe that means now that when she goes back to the gym, she's gonna knuckle down and get back to sort of get back to the training. She's with Rob McCracken, I believe. So it will be beneficial for her to work on certain lapses that she has. And yeah, just come back better, bigger and stronger, basically. But yeah, it was entertaining enough. But yeah, let's pretty much leave that there. Um, let's talk very briefly about Chelly and Cullen. Now, we were, as you guys know, we were doing the interview with Jamal Herring when this fight was going on. So when I got to my front room to watch it, it was actually I was in round 6 going on to round 7. And based on what I saw in those sort of 5 rounds, I didn't bother go back and watch the rest of the fight. To me, what I saw wasn't a great advert for British boxing or for a chief support on a card. And obviously, I can't blame the promoters or anything for that. These kind of things happen, but it's funny because I was on Twitter X afterwards, and after finished talking to Jamel, and he put out a tweet saying that what's his name, Tim Bradley on the US broadcast was saying, yeah, these guys need to just stick to boxing as a side hustle. he, he said that if this is pro boxing, this is embarrassing, basically. And I can't lie, they if this was the first time that our American counterparts was seeing British boxing, they would not have been impressed, and I'm pretty sure that they would be mocking the UK fight scene. It wasn't a great advert. That being said, from what I did see, Zach Chelly was basically Zach Chelly was beating Jack Cullen to the punch, pretty much every round. Cullen just looked a bit, he just looked a bit long, tired, lethargic, maybe a little bit like he got a bit old overnight. It was making jokes about the grey hairs and stuff at the weigh-in. Well, maybe he is just literally getting old at this point. It might be that because there was no urgency or pep to anything that he done in the ring from the 5 rounds that I saw. And from what I did see, yeah, even though it was very messy and horrible to watch, Zach Chelly did look like the rightful winner, which I predicted.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I ain't got much to add to that. I didn't think it was a great fight. Cullen is just basically too upstand. He's too straight up. He's got no like ability to move upper body. His punches are literally arm punches. He doesn't have any torque in his shots. He puts everything into his shots. Because you can hear the noises he's making as he throws his shots, but there's not really huge amounts of power because he's not really turning his body fully with all of his shots. It is more arm punching than legs and shoulders getting into the shot. Whereas Chelly was very much more relaxed. Obviously, this was a big comeback fight for Zach Chelly after losing to Jack Cullen's stablemate before last year. So, the pressure was on him. He wasn't expected to get this title shot, but he took it with aplomb. He just outboxed Cullen. He had all the moves. He was able to slip the Cullen jab literally every time. It just looks like he's the antidote. He's the antidote to everything Cullen had. It looked too easy for Chelly. Slip counter every time, slip counter. And for the Croy Gas boxers who are watching, that might not be an entertaining fight, but it's a good learning fight because it shows you the power of being able to use your head and throw back as your opponent's coming into you. So slip the jab and then counter. Cullen too often throwing the single, the 1-2. Chelly knows, listen, if I get past the 1, I'm giving you a 3-piece. And that was the story of the fight from top to bottom. He literally just outworked his opponent, made him miss the first shot, and then countered with 2, 3, 4 shots of his own and outworked his opponent. So good job for Zach Chelly. Pleased for him. We'll see where he goes next. Yeah.
Okay, now obviously let's move to what everyone's here to talk about. I'll let you lead because you put quite a bit of stuff into this, and you want to have quite a deep dive into this one. So take it away with
Yeah.
whatever you've got.
Okay. So this fight was basically. It looks like it split the boxing community because, as you will see, literally everybody. Well, not everybody. No, that's way overcooking it. A lot of people came back after this fight. There you are, October Red. Tasha had the answers, but Michaela was more dominant. Not a robbery. It was close, but Adam Catterall, there's people out there who are saying this was a robbery. Yeah. Ebony Bridges, another one, who just basically people are saying, there's no way they could see how this fight was ultimately a fight that Natasha Jonas won. So, yeah, let's get into the meat and drink of it all, because what I've managed to do is pull up as much data as I could possibly find on the fight. I've watched the fight now 3 times. Now, interestingly, the first time I'm watching, I didn't score it. So I watched it with a friend, and the friend had never seen female boxing before. I don't think it was something that they had watched before. And so it was a new experience. And they said they thought that Maya had won it based on how they were listening to the commentary, listening to me explain what was going on. From the eye test, just looking at each round and counting it in my head, could see clearly that Michaela Mayer won more rounds than Natasha Jonas. So it was the first thing I did when the result was announced was go robbery. So at that point, I'm like, I can't give Natasha Jonas more than about 3 rounds in this fight. In a 10-round fight, if that was a 12-round fight, it'd be worse. But in a 10-round fight, it's maybe not so much of a robbery. So that's why I'm here, because I want you guys in the chat to give us your viewpoint on, was this a robbery or not. Now, the reason I'm making a big point about the word robbery is maybe on hindsight, this isn't so much of a robbery, because I've now watched it a further 2 times. There are a couple of rounds in there that are what we call swing rounds. Now, I've taken Base's scorecard. I've put it onto my spreadsheet. I've taken the viewer scorecard. I put it onto my spreadsheet. Unfortunately, the one that I did want to get was the actual judges' scorecards. I've got their end results, but I haven't seen their breakdown by round. What I have managed to get is CompuBox numbers. Jam Down says he had it 96-93 to Mayer. I know KG last night had a weird score of 96-93. Last night, Reese Cooper on Monday Night Smoke had it 7 rounds to 3. Philip Answer had it 97-93. Hot Pies last night indicated he thought Jonas nicked it. Jimbo Jones called it a robbery. So clearly, this fight has split opinion in terms of what actually did we see. So I'm going to break it down as best I can. Let's go with the visuals. Okay, so here's how I scored it, and I will try to be as objective as I can. Looks like everybody to a man scored round 1 to Jonas, and CompuBox figures support that. Round 2, most people scored that to Michaela Mayer. CompuBox figures support that by saying that Mayer scored 12 power shots to Jonas's 9. Jonas out-jabbed Mayer by 2-1. But Base has this down as a Jonas round, but could potentially be a swing round. Okay? So most people, barred Base, had that down as a Mayer round. Round 3, everybody has that as a Jonas round. However, CompuBox shows Mayer had way more power shots in that round. She outscored Jonas 16-11 power shots in round 3. But most people still gave that round to Jonas. So 2 rounds to 1 up by most people for Jonas. Round 4, everybody goes with Maya. And the punch that's are 15-9 power shots, Maya. Round 5, Jonas. Everybody goes Jonas. CompuBox stats actually show Maya landed more power shots. But I had to kind of look at that round again when I was rewatching it, and I don't think Maya won round 5. I gave that to Jonas as well. So most people gave round 5 to Jonas. So Jonas now at this point is 2-all. It's 3-2 to Maya. Yeah.
No, 3-2 to Jonas.
3-2 to Jonas. Sorry, yes, absolutely right. Getting my figures muddled up there. Round 6. Now, Base has this as a Michaela Mayer round. The fans have this as a Michaela Mayer round. CompuBox has this as a Jonas power shots and jabs outscored 13-10 on power shots and 1-0 on jabs. And this round for me, I had this down as a swing round. So you could have this 3-all. You could have this 3-2 and a draw round, or you could have it 4-2 to Jonas. Okay, so round 6 is an interesting round. Round 7, everything is Mayer. Everything outlands 20-15 on the power shots. 20-19 on the power shots. 3-0 on the jabs. But it's easily a Michaela Mayer round. Round 8. Right. This is another interesting round. Because round 8, Natasha Jonas comes out like on fire. She comes out and for the first minute, she's all over Maya. Base has this down as a Jonas round. I have this as a Jonas round. The fans think this is a Maya round. CompuBox has this as a Jonas round, 20-15. Yeah. Round 9. CompuBox, the fans, me, everybody has this a Maya round. Round 9. Can't see how anyone can possibly score this to Jonas. But lo and behold, Base has this as a Jonas round, but he also says it could be a swing round. Yeah? Round 10. No arguments. Everybody admits that's a Maya round. So I have this fight as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds to Maya, 1, 2, 3 rounds to Jonas, and a swing round. Yeah. So I've got Maya winning this. But swing rounds count because you might just have seen it and gone, well, I gave Jonas the swing rounds. Base has 3 swing rounds, round 2, round 8, and round 9. The controversy will last forever, but hopefully you can see how it can possibly be seen as some people might say it could be seen as a robbery if you go by some cards. Other cards you can go, well, it was close. Got a couple of more things that I got to. Where are we? Okay, so we had the CompuBox figures there, which shows the jabs thrown through each of the rounds, and the power punches. It's the one that I really we'll take note of. And by and large, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds, Michaela Mayer, by these CompuBox figures that you are looking at right now, round 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 10 are all won by Michaela Mayer. As far as the jabs, so the final punch stats show total punches 125 scored by Jonas, 150 or 149 scored by Mayer. Jabs 15 to Jonas, 12 to Mayer. So there wasn't a great deal of jabs, which is interesting because you'd feel that with the height and length reach that Mayer had, that she would have been the more dominant jabber. And in the power section, then we've got 110 landed by Jonas compared to 137 by Mayer. Now, punch stats isn't always everything. It's not the be-all and end-all. Yeah. More stats that I pulled up from CompuBox. Here's an interesting statistic. Jonas was more efficient combo puncher, landed 42.5% of her punches thrown in combinations, compared to 32.3% by Michaela. So a lot of data there to take on board. As I said, I believe there's no way that Jonas won that fight. Base, over to you.
I mean, what was you doing, Tony? Like, was you breaking down the fight? Or was you just trying to give us numbers?
Well,
Because you said you gave us a lot of numbers, then said numbers ain't the be all end all. So what was you doing?
I kind of want to just be like sitter on the fence and let you speak for a little bit and then come back and talk
But why
about
do you want to sit
specific
on the
rounds.
fence? Like you said, you watched the fight 3 times.
Okay,
You said you.
I'm not really sitting on the fence. I'm trying to be devil's advocate and go, okay, maybe this wasn't a robbery. But as far as I was concerned, I tweeted it was a robbery when I first saw the result. And to me, still, I see Mayer won that fight.
Okay, well, I disagree. Same as I've disagreed with others who have said the same thing. Again, as you said, the first thing you said in this whole thing is, well, you watched it first time and you weren't scoring it. You just watched the fight and you was explaining it to someone else, whatever you was doing at that point. So in that particular moment, here's my issue now with what you've just said, and you've tried to get all of these stats and everything. That's fine, but you've already now got colored in your mind how you've seen the fight. You're not you can't go back into a fight that you've already seen with fresh eyes. It doesn't work. Like we're always gonna be able to we're always gonna still see what we saw the first time round. Hence why when I said I watched it the second time, my rounds didn't change. I still saw what I saw. The only difference is there were rounds where I could say, all right, yeah, these ones were maybe slightly closer than they were last time. And I never said necessarily that I would give them as swing rounds. I just said I could understand those rounds if someone had those different. Now, when I've looked at this fight, here's what I've looked at. So I've looked at you've got effective aggression. So it's not just who's walking the other person down, because sometimes someone is boxing on the back foot. That doesn't mean that they're getting walked down. They're choosing that tactic. So you have to look at that. Is the aggression effective, or are you basically just leading? Then I'm looking at, right, what's landing clean? Yeah. If you've got a combination of punches where, for instance, you've got a high guard up, 5 punches have been thrown, 3 of them have landed on the guard, 1 of them has slipped through kind of grazing, and then there's maybe been 1 like significant shot out of that. But then you've got another combination from the other person with 2 solid shots that are both connected and both look like they've had a significant impact and significant strike damage. Then even though one person threw 5 and maybe you could say that they landed 3 of them barely, with 1 being significant, the other person's now hit you with 2 significant ones. If we look at those same punch stats that you just put up there, what was the accuracies? Michaela Mayer's accuracy for punching was like about 15% lower than Natasha Jonas's for the majority of those rounds. So yeah, she was throwing a lot more, but she was being wasteful and ineffective. And a lot of her work was either being nullified or being stopped, especially in the first half of the fight. So when we get to the second half now, yes, she was snowballing, which is what I said when I was tweeting out my scorecards. I said from round 5, it looks like she's starting to get the rhythm of this fight a lot cleaner than Natasha Jonas is, and at this pace, it suits her better than it suits Natasha. Now I'm gonna go back to my scorecard and I'm gonna read out everything that I said word for word when the fight itself was taking place. Because remember, I scored it live. I didn't just watch it and then try to do a scorecard afterwards.
Base,
That's
can
why
I
I
just say something real quick? Real
no,
quick.
you
Yeah.
can't. You had your moment
Yeah,
to
no,
speak.
no,
I
no,
didn't
no, 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 no.
interrupt you.
Because what it applies to you saying about you can't see something differently the second time around. Because I remember sitting next to you. Yeah, we were both ringside when Michaela Mayer fought Alicia Baumgartner.
That's very different.
Hang on, wait. We were
No, but
both there.
no. You can't use that as a saying. That's a very different scenario.
Oh,
Oh,
tell the
what?
people what happened because you and I both thought Mayer won the fight, right?
Yeah, based on where I was sitting. That's
Okay,
totally different to watching
okay,
something on TV and you've got that same when you've got
okay.
all the angles on TV,
All
you're
right.
gonna have the same angles on TV
So
the next time.
I personally
No, that's
don't
a
see
totally
one
different
difference.
thing, Tony. And you've just tried to
I
disrupt my whole. You stop talking. I did not interrupt you.
go
Thank
ahead,
you.
go ahead.
Right. So as I was saying to the people, right, first round, 1-0 Jonas. Good body work and better accuracy. Also showing a speed advantage at the moment. Round 2, 2-0 Jonas. Mayer was busier, but was made to miss quite a bit. All the clean, effective work came from Tash. Round 3, 3-0 Jonas. Michaela seems sluggish at this weight. Tash is picking her off from the outside and countering on the inside. Round 4, 3-1, Mayer round. Applied constant pressure and brought her feet closer to the target before punching. Bullied Jonas around the ring. Round 5, 4-1, Jonas. Jonas having the better of the exchanges, but Mayer started to gain momentum towards the end. Mayer looks the most likely to last this pace for another 5 rounds. Round 6, 4-2, Mayer round. Very close, but Michaela is gaining in momentum. The pace suits Mayer at the moment. Tash has to stay off the ropes. Round 7, 4-3 Mayer round. Michaela gaining that downwards momentum now will be very hard for Tasha to halt this momentum without a Hail Mary shot. Round 8, 5-3 Jonas. Some tremendous body work by both women, but Natasha with the cleaner and more significant shots, clinching to nullify Mayer 2. Round 9, 6-3 Jonas. Got the better of the bodywork for me. Both extremely tired, but Tasha with the more significant shots. Round 10, 6-4 Mayer round. I've got it 96-94 to Natasha Jonas after 10. Survived in the last round, but Mayer wasn't to be denied. That is how I had it. That's how I scored it. Now, funny thing is, a lot of people have said well, they think that rounds 8, 9, and 10 were clear Mayer rounds. Well, Jonas to me had the best of number 8, but that was the most competitive of those quote unquote swing rounds, and 9 as well. But if we look at our good friend Alex from America, Alex the Great, he even said that he scored the fight to Michaela Mayer what was it, 73. What did he have? He said he had it 77-73 to Michaela Mayer, but no, sorry, 97-93 to Michaela Mayer. But he said that he gave Natasha Jonas rounds 1, round 2, and round 9. So when I'm looking at this and someone's telling me, well, Mayer clearly won the second round, well, someone who gave Mayer the fight said that Jonas won it. She clearly won the ninth. Well, multiple people I've seen who clearly said that Michaela Mayer won the fight gave Natasha Jonas the ninth. So clearly, what I was watching and what I've seen, there must be a lot of other people that are agreeing with me. They may not see all the same rounds that I saw, but for the most part, The person with the scorecard the most closest to mine was D Style. So big up to him if he's watching. Me and him had the exact same scorecard except for round 9, where he gave that to Mayer instead of Jonas, and he scored the fight a draw. Joe Habib from Ringside Report, he also scored the fight a draw. And I can't remember what rounds he gave. He did put his scorecard up online as well. And other people. Dan Raphael scored it to Natasha Jonas. Amanda Serrano scored it to Natasha Jonas. Several other people. Loads of other people scored it to Mayo. It was one of those fights. It was what you saw, how you saw it. Ultimately, I looked for what was the cleaner work. There was a lot more volume from Michaela Mayer, but not all of it was good quality volume. And I'm sorry, you don't just win by volume alone. It's got to be, as they said, clean and effective. Grazing shots don't count. Shots that land on the gloves don't count. Shots that maybe slightly graze you past the guard don't count, because that's called effective defense, which is what Natasha Jonas showed throughout the first half of that fight specifically. Not as much in the second half, but she still managed to nick 2 rounds for me in the second half based on blocking, slipping, and countering shots, catching and countering, like exchanging in the pocket, better quality body work, and then clinching to stop Mayer from being able to run away with those rounds. And that, again, that downward spiral, that downward momentum that I was referring to. So that's how I had it scored. And end of the day, I had it scored the same way as 2 of the judges watching it. So I feel fairly vindicated with my scorecard. It wasn't like, oh, I've had this massive scorecard, and every other fight, every other scorecard you see around the world is like 6 rounds different to what I saw. Like, clearly other people have seen what I've seen. So I'm calm with it. It was a close fight. If Michaela Mayer got given the decision, cool. I'm not gonna argue with anyone. It was one of those, if you gave it to her, fine. 97, 93 her way, 96, 94 Tasha's way, a draw. I'm not arguing with anybody. But anyone calling it robbery is clearly just, well, I'm not even going to say what they are, but yeah, they need to just revise the words, because this was not a high strop in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. So let's see. IFF says a draw would have been a fair result. Dan, I don't know what the point is here about Michaela throwing 112 jabs. To me, that just shows with the number of jabs that landed, both girls need to learn a thing or two about how to land a jab. Philip Answer, who I know scored it 97-93 to Michaela, gave Tasha rounds 1, 3, swings in 7 and 8, and he gave Michaela 2, 4, 5, 6, 9, and 10.
That's not what he said. He said 3 was a swing round for him.
So, okay, is that what that says? I gave round 1, 3 was a swing round for me, 7 and 8. Okay. So, interesting. Because everybody gave Michaela Mayer round 7. There's not one person on the planet could possibly have given Natasha Jonas round 7. Literally.
But no one's argued round 7.
But on Phillips, he's saying he gave Tasha that round. So interesting. Jam Down says, I gave Tasha the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and a share of the 8th. I gave Mayer the 2nd, 4th, 6th, 7th, 9th, and 10th with a share of the 8th. Fight Fan TV 3-2 Jonas. Don't try teeth. I'm not sure what
That's
that
when
meant.
you said 3-2 to Mayer earlier.
Oh, right, okay.
He responded then.
Okay. So Fight Fan gave. I basically know that Danny, you scored it exactly the same as Base, so I kind of was already there with that. I spoke to. I don't know if you're listening, Ben, but I spoke to Ben Doughty. He also scored it, if emphatically, to Michaela Mayer. He had a chat with Michael Silk Olajide, who also scored it to Mayor. Jam Down 187 had it to Mayor. So, look, there's
What about you?
clearly
No, what about your brother?
not a robbery. Oh, interestingly, my brother who watched it the first time, and I said straight away, my brother has just scored it to Jonas. Watched it again today. Guess what? He came back and said, "No, I've changed my mind. I've scored it to Mayor."
What was his scorecard both times?
He didn't do a scorecard, but he just
So he
said
just he just watched it and gave it and had an overall
yeah,
picture.
in the same way most people do.
Well,
Not
yeah,
everybody
yeah,
does
and
the scoring thing.
that's why most people are calling robbery, because that's not how you score a fight.
But he did score it for Jonas first time, so it clearly was a close fight. So I'm just going to leave it at that now. It's not a robbery. It's a close fight. There are clearly divides over who gets what rounds. Yeah. You know, hopefully we've kind of allowed people to voice their opinions, see how they see it. Mr. D. Obianuli, a clear robbery. That's twice Michaela's been robbed now. You know, first three to Jonas, struggled to give her another round. After that, it wasn't a hard fight to score. So yeah, guys, it is always a subjective sport. It's always gonna raise eyebrows when the actual people who watch the sport see it in different ways. I think Base has got more than enough justification to have scored it the way he scored it. Clearly, I've got a lot of people who I know have scored it in a fairly similar fashion to myself, in favor of Michaela Mayer. As I said, I've watched it 3 times now, and I still can't see how Jonas wins it. But hey, we've given our breakdown. We've allowed you guys to give your tuppence worth on the issue. I think I don't think I'm being biased when I say I think I see more people saying they saw Michaela Mayer winning than I've seen Jonas winning.
No, that's correct. There is more people seeing that. That's fine. And again, I don't blame those people, but those people watching like that, who then can't give you a scorecard but want to claim robbery, is what I'm saying. They're not that knowledgeable. I can only conversate and have this conversation with someone that's actually sat down and scored the fight, because then we can debate what rounds were different from each person. Because again, there's always a difference between what happens in the story of a fight as to what happens round by round. Because to be honest, every round is supposed to be its own individual fight. You're not supposed to take into account what happened before then, but that's not what the vast majority of people do. I've been guilty of that in the past before. So that's why I found it very necessary to score the fight first time round, to make sure that I had a reference point for anything that I felt on the day. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Good evening, Karma. Hope you're well. Thanks for
That's
joining
up,
us.
Carlo.
So yeah, guys, that's our breakdown of the Jonas Mayer fight. I think we've run our course now, if I'm not mistaken, Base.
Yeah, let's just see what, right. Too much people got caught up in the robbery narrative. A lot of Mayer's punches didn't land or was landing on gloves and arms of Jonas, but Jonas too landed a lot of arms and gloves. I mean, yeah, quite possibly. But judging, if we look by the overall CompuBox stats, which are not always accurate, so you don't take them as gospel, but they show the accuracy was definitely on Natasha Jonas's side. So volume is one thing, accuracy is another, and ultimately, I guess it just depends on what is doing or what is the most effective at the time. The fact that there's a lot of shots being thrown, or the fact that there might be less being thrown, but there's more that are clearly being landed in sequence, in sequential order. Dion Benudi says the vast majority cannot be wrong. Well, they can actually. Like that in itself is not just because the vast majority believe something doesn't make it true. Back in the day, the almost the whole world thought that the earth was flat. So the vast majority can be wrong. It's just that the vast majority are the loud ones. That's all it is. So yeah, that statement I can't give you that. Just from watching the fight, no one was dominating it. Yeah. CompuBox is flawed. I don't trust whatsoever. Agreed. It's a metric you can have, but it's not something that you can really use as a backup to an argument. Because it's not there's no pressure points in the gloves. They don't touch there's no everything is by eyesight. Some people have got better eyes than others, some people got better reflexes than others, and people make mistakes. It just is what it is. Karma says you lot need to just say you like come forward fighters and be done with it. I mean, hey, fair
So
dues. And you know what?
let me address that point if I may.
Go for it.
So who doesn't like a come forward fighter? Because in the history of boxing, I can only think of about 5 fighters who excelled going backwards.
Okay, but with that, because it is karma, I am leaving it on that. That is the last comment, and that is definitely the last moment of the day. So thank you everyone who has tuned in. Look, there's been a lot of discussion, and I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree. Again, I'm not arguing with anyone. I understand if you didn't, if you felt it one way or the other. All I know is I predicted Natasha would win. I scored it for her unbiasedly, and it ended up being the right result on the night in terms of what I saw, what I scored, and what 2 of the judges scored. Tony, give them your socials.
Guys, you can catch me on Instagram at Pugilistboy. That's where most of my content goes. Otherwise, I'm on YouTube and Twitter / X as Pugilistboy.
All right. And as for me, BaseDaKID, the hardcore casual, as it is written there, is exactly how it is on the YouTube. On Instagram and on Threads, it is BaseDaKID as well. Twitter, it is B_A_S_E, but you can just type in BaseDaKID or base, and I think I am the first one that pops up now. So I must be having an effect on the timeline on Twittex, as I've now started to call it. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. Glad that you hopefully have enjoyed, and hopefully you've had a lot of interaction today. But yeah, we will catch you on the next one next week. 2 big cards. So yeah, stay tuned, stay locked in. That's it for now. Peace.
Peace out.